أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله فأما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We are doing Sura Yusuf, and we did last up to ayah number 29. So today we will try to do, inshallah, ayah number 30 to 42, inshallah. So here we go and listen to the recitation, and then I will give you the translation and other. So we heard the qira, inshallah. I will do part by part. So first I will just recite the translation from ayah number 30 to 35. We'll finish that, and then I will proceed to ayah 36 to 42. They're different portions. Let me finish one portion and then we'll go on to the next one, inshallah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. And women in the city said, the wife of the Aziz is seeking to seduce her slave. Young man, indeed, she loves him violently. Verily, we see her in plain error. So when she heard of their accusation, she sent for them and prepared a banquet for them. She gave each of them a knife, and she said to Yusuf, come out before them. Then when they saw him, they exalted him at his beauty, and in their astonishment cut their hands. They said, how perfect is Allah. No man is this. This is none other than a noble angel. She said, this is he, the young man, about whom you did blame me, and I did seek to seduce him, but he refused. And now if he refuses to obey my order, he shall certainly be cast into prison and will be one of those who are disgraced. He said, O my Lord, prison is dearer to me than that to which they invite me. Unless you turn away their plot from me, I will feel inclined towards them and be one of the ignorant. So his Lord answered his invocation and turned away from him their plot. Verily, he is the all-hearer, the all-knower. Then it occurred to them, after they had seen the proofs of his innocence, to imprison him for a time. Okay, up to here. Let's go over this part first. Then we will proceed if the time permits, because people joined late today. And please, next time, don't be late and start so that we can start in time, inshallah. Because for tafsir especially, I don't want you people to miss, because then you will not understand what's going on. Okay, so now here, last what we did is that Yusuf alayhi salam, okay, was, you know what happened between Yusuf alayhi salam and Aziz's wife. I mentioned everything to you, and I said that there was an elderly man who came, and he, decided what to decide between this, do a decision making of who was at fault or who was seducing whom. And he said, let's see where the shirt was torn from. If it is torn from the front, then obviously Yusuf was trying to seduce and she was trying to help herself, and if it is from the back, then Yusuf was running and she was trying to catch him. And so since the shirt was torn from the back, the blame was on the wife of Yusuf, but because she was, the wife of Aziz, but because she was the wife of Aziz, and things had to be hushed up, not spread out, and it was quietly closed. And I also mentioned to you, and I would again mention to you, that it's not that Yusuf alayhi salam was not tempted to go forward with her. Okay. And I also mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that when he saw the Burhan, okay, he stopped. Otherwise, he was inclined towards her. And what are the reasons? If you just for one moment, again, go back to this, because it's very important for us to understand what happened before I go further. Because if I go further and say what the women of the city what were they told or what was their reaction. I have to first again go back to that previous part, connect it with today's part because it is connected, and to explain to you what is happening there. Yusuf alayhi salam. So now we are going to just take quick points to know what was, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining to us here that Yusuf was also inclined towards her. And there are people who, especially biblical stories and other stories, sometimes distort the version a little bit and make it sound as if Yusuf alayhi salam was, not with good intention or whatever, okay? First of all, or else they say that the prophets are infallible, they can never make a mistake, okay? There are two extremes. So we will again go back to Quran, we will go back to its words, and we will try to understand what is given here, okay? And we take it as it's given here. So number one, first we will explain, I want to explain the extremism about this matter. We cannot say prophets are infallible and they never make a mistake, but they will not commit major sins. They will not commit sins which are of poor character, like they will not cheat, lie, or deceive, or those kind of things, or something of that sort, which is mean, bad. They will not do those kind of things, okay? They may make mistakes. They may make mistakes, wrong decisions. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us where, like when Ibrahim said, I want to pray for my father, and he said, you can pray, but I will not accept it. So it's a mistake, but he said, I will let go. Or Ibrahim alayhi salam lied to save his and his wife's life because of a wrong person they were meeting with, and whatever. Those things are mistakes which are not harming anybody or deceiving people in a bad way. So those kind of things. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made a mistake when he wanted to leave Maktoum, okay, and go and speak to the leaders of Quraysh, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent immediately the surah Abasa wa Tawalla. Okay, so you will go leaving somebody and think they will be guided. I will guide none of them. They will all burn in hellfire. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us information. Yunus alayhi salam, what a big mistake he did. He left his ummah without Allah's permission. He left his ummah and ran away. So he was punished there and then by being eaten up by a fish. Okay, so they're not infallible. They're human beings. They have human instincts. And Yusuf alayhi salam was also a human being and he had human instincts. Okay, so we come down to this, that they are not infallible, but they do not make sins of the kind which are of major sins. Okay, then let's take the points in consideration. If I don't put these points in consideration, you will not understand why Yusuf alayhi salam is praised in this connection. Okay, if I say that Burhan was actually an angel, like some people interpreted that actually he saw Jibreel alayhi salam and Jibreel alayhi salam hit him with his wing or smacked him, so he suddenly got cautioned and he thought, oh, I'm going towards Zulaikha, I shouldn't. No, it's like if I see an angel, you cannot give me any praise for that. Obviously, if I see an angel, I'm going to stop, right? Then what's my praise? If I'm tempted for something, and if I see an angel, that's enough for me. Then they say sometimes that he saw Yaqub alayhi salam scolding him or showing him eyes. Again, the same thing. If I see something so clear, then there is nothing to think about. It's not upon me. That means I was saved by somebody. I did not actually make any effort. So why do you praise me for that? Right? So we are coming to that. I'm explaining all these important message to you because I'm coming to something. So what is the scenario? Again, go back to the scenario. Okay. He is just come of age. He's come to his shabab. Okay. He's a young man. You know, it's different for a man who's 40, 50-year-old. He knows how to control or how to, keep himself at a distance or when to let go, whatever. But when a boy is just come to age, 17, 18, 19 years, he's full of youth. He's full of temptations, and it's easy for him to get down to that. And you don't think so much in that age, because old age is far away. You don't even know what aches and pains and old age is. You're just full of life at that time. Okay, so consider fact number one, he is a young boy. Fact number two, he's working in Aziz's house for now many years. Okay, because he was a teenager, 13, 14, when he was brought to this house. From that age to 19, 18, so for 5 years, she's been working under this woman. And why I say under this woman, that's the third fact. Why? Because Yusuf was placed under her for a different intention. Why? Aziz said to his wife, he seems to be a good person to me. So instead of keeping him as a slave, keep him well, treat him well. Maybe we can adopt him. Okay? So because he is thinking of a future plan of adopting him, making him like a son to him, he placed it under his wife and told her to make special arrangement, take special care of this person, not to treat him like just a slave, but somebody who may become our son. So now she has more attention over him, and she is working along with, he is working for her, staying, towards, close to her, for her work and whatever her needs. So they are associated for a few years. So she is always seeing him and he is always with her. Okay. Fourth point. He is a slave. Okay. And slave, if you know anything about slavery, slave is always down. Master is up. Slave has no rights whatsoever. They have to do what the master says. Okay. So when it is between a slave and a common man, the difference is too far. All right. Because the slave has no rights. Sixth point is, sorry, I didn't write these points this time, but they're all in my mind. So I'm just going to shoot out all of them one by one. Okay. The sixth point is, fifth point was that he's a slave. Sixth point is that she's not an ordinary woman. She is the wife of the finance minister of that country, of Egypt. Okay. And she is a woman in power, authority. So she comes far above a common woman also. A common free woman is also above a slave. She's not just a common free woman. She is a woman in power and authority. Number 7. She's not just a woman in power, authority. She is also a woman who's very beautiful. And why so? Because a man like Aziz, if he's going to get married, he's going to get married to one of the best women in town. Because he is a royal servant, he will marry somebody best looking woman. So Zulekha is also a very beautiful woman. Now, imagine living in close proximity with a woman who's very beautiful. She's kind because she's been asked to be kind to this boy, who's in power and authority. She has been doing special favors to this boy, and he is totally attached to doing her work. So she's seeing him day and night. She's developing the feelings for him, not now, but from the beginning as he's growing into a young lad. she has different feelings for him. Okay? You and me can say, oh, she was like a mother to him. After all, he was placed under her to be her son. But she's thinking differently for him, towards him. And that is not wrong. It's wrong because she is Aziz's wife. Okay? Now the whole thing is difficult, but he also has feelings for her. Okay? After all, if somebody is kind to me, nice to me, day and night, year after year, won't I also develop feelings for her? At least of respect, of love, normal general love? Yes, definitely. And I'm obliged also to that person, right? So all this is coming up. And when she is, trying to seduce him, it's not that Yusuf alayhi salam didn't feel like going to her. But the burhan Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about in Quran is the awareness of Allah watching him came to his heart. Look, sisters, I'll explain to you in a more down to this thing level of understanding way. Okay. If it is you and me, and we go and stay in a hotel, any hotel, 5-star hotel, we take a room, we're on our holiday, okay, and we go and stay in the hotel, and there is a refrigerator with liquor. When we open the refrigerator, there is all kinds of wine, whiskey, beer, blah, blah, whatever, okay? And you and me don't touch it. Nobody's in that room. I'm staying alone in that room. Nobody can see what I'm going to have from that fridge. I can quietly pay the bill and go the next morning. Will anybody find out what I drank that night? No, but I won't. And obviously, my mind will also not go there. Even your mind will not go there, right? So do you think you got a big ajr? No. No. You will get ajr because not because you left it, it's because you were never tempted. There's no ajr. Okay? Now there's another person who goes to the same room and he has just given up drinking for the sake of Allah. And he likes to drink. When he sees people drinking, he feels tempted. And he goes and stays in that room. And he opens the fridge and it's full of that liquor. Oh, I wish I could just take it quietly. Nobody will find out. And I can't resist. It is too tempting for me. What shall I do? He's sitting with an open fridge and waiting, thinking what should he do? And then he decides, no, I'm not going to touch this liquor. I'm going to close the door and I'm going to just go to sleep. I'm not going to think about it. With great difficulty, I left it and Allah is watching me. Nobody else is watching me in this room. Allah is there, right? So this man's ajr is far greater than yours and mine. Because we did not struggle. We did not even think. So there is nothing to earn there. But the man who gave up and who has to give up and who has to struggle to restrain himself will get a huge ajr for leaving that liquor, that same room without drinking. Now you understand what I'm saying? So a man who is, if he was a prophet, as they put it, that he's a prophet and he never thought about Zulaikha and only Zulaikha was going crazy over him. And because of that, everything was like that. No. Then there is no praise for Yusuf. Because what great thing did he do? He refused her because he never was interested in her. You know that liquor example? Keep it in mind. But he was also actually pulled towards her. He was also inclined towards her. He also had love for her. But he controlled it and he asked Allah's refuge. He needed help. And what did he do? He asked Allah to help him because he felt weak at one point. So he asked Allah to help him. And he said, if you don't help me, I will fall into this trap. Help me from this situation. Help me from my weakness. And Allah helped him. So when we are stuck in such a situation, we ask Allah's help. And we can ask Allah's help. And Allah will help us. And that's where the ajr is more, when you're trying to hold yourself and you're pulled towards something wrong. Okay? Like, you know, if we get together, okay? Let me put the example of, supposing it's my family, okay? You know, my father never ever spoke about anybody. He would not comment. Even if everybody is talking about somebody, he will never speak a word. Okay? So if I put that scenario in front, and then when he advised, you know, me, when I spoke about somebody, I actually told him to advise, you know, somebody in my relationship, that please ask that person, you know, he is your nephew. Why don't you tell him not to, you know, behave like this or do these things? It's sin, something like that. Okay, you're an elder, so you can advise. And he said, you mind your own business. Who I have to advise, when I have to advise, when I think it's right, I will do it. Don't talk about him. Even you telling me about him, you have committed a sin, and I don't want to be part of that. He was so careful. Okay, so now I'm thinking, him keeping quiet is not as much ajr as I struggling to keep quiet when the discussion is going on. Obviously, he didn't have the habit. He never felt tempted to talk or comment on anybody. We all have the weakness. We jump into commenting. Yes, even I saw it. Yes, even I thought, even that day it happened. In this party, he did that, she did that. We get into that, okay? If we can restrain that, we get more ajr than a person who anyway doesn't believe in speaking about other people. So when you are actually struggling to control yourself from any temptation, then it is a thing to praise that, okay, you did something, that's one good deed. This is why, to put the whole scenario in front of you, what all are the factors, how the temptation was so great, and yet Yusuf alayhi salam did not fall into that trap because he was having awareness that Allah is watching me. And you know what all happened? The details are not given. And why the details are not given in the Quran? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually giving us a lesson. You don't need details. For everything, you don't need to know everything. Something happened is enough for you to know something happened. Okay? You don't need to know everything about that incident. Okay? So how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving such a big thing that happened in Aziz's house. The wife seduced the slave boy, tore his shirt. Such a lot of things happened. Another person came, a real, you know, decision took place of what to do with him, and all that happened. Okay, what are the details? How did she call him? What happened? What did she do? How did she seduce him? What was Aziz's reaction at that time? What I'm trying to say is all these details are there. Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhu has given certain details, which I'll share them today. But I want you to know these details, why in Quran it was not given, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to know you don't need to know all the details that happen for anybody's life. Knowing that something happened is enough, and we don't need to talk about it or comment about it because we don't know the details. Okay? And according to Abdullah bin Abbas and the details, for that time when Yusuf alayhi salam was called by Zulaikha, she actually called him inside, and then she not just, you know, it says غَلَّقَ الْأَبْوَابِ. She did not just close the door, she locked the door. Okay? She locked the door after calling him in. and she double locked it. And other doors also she locked. After locking all the doors, she turned to him, went to her bed, and lied down in an inviting manner and told him, come, let's do it. This is how Rawattahu. She invited him in an inviting manner, provoking manner. Okay? She can't wait any longer for him, and now he feels towards her too. But he's conscious. And what did he say to her? That your husband has been very kind to me, is looking after me, feeding me, has been kind to me. I cannot deceive him and come to you. It would be wrong. Also, when it says, my Rabb, actually Rabb means Lord and Rabb means master. So there are two meanings to this. And some scholars prefer that meaning. Some scholars prefer this meaning. I'll present both the meanings. You can take whichever you feel. Okay, I take both the meanings for that matter. That he says that my Rabb, okay, has been kind to me. That means Allah has been kind to me and has fed me and kept me with respect in this house. So I cannot do something wrong to you. So he feels like doing, but he thinks his conscience is not allowing him to go forward and do something like that. Okay? And imagine that when I'm saying she's in bed and calling him, okay? And then we just hear the story saying, and then she went after him and the shirt was ripped off. That means he was close to her, but he left her to go away from her because he's got scared that he will trip and fall into this. And so she tried to grab him back, and that's when the shirt got torn. But he did reach the door and he tried to unlock the door and open, and there stood the husband somewhere nearby, and he saw him coming out, in that condition. And so the whole thing was open. And so this scene gets over. Okay. Now what is happening? The gossipers gossip. So the gossip goes out. Now people are talking about it. There are women, any elite women or any even upper middle class women, from the beginning, they've always had, they will have tea parties. Now we have kitty parties, coffee mornings, okay, whatever. So they get together. Women get together, they have fun, they had their parties. And Egypt was famous for these kind of things because women would get together, they would eat, drink, dance, whatever, everything. They would enjoy themselves. Now, these elite women were getting together and gossiping about this. We heard something like this happened with Zulekha, something like this happened, something like this happened. Now, it revolves around and comes back to the palace. So when the story and the gossip comes back to the palace, she hears Aziz's wife comes to know that people, all the women, are talking about her. Maybe one of the women are her close friends, and they come and tell, nowadays they're having parties and they're talking about you and whatever happened with you, between you and Yusuf. So she said, okay, is that so? Okay, fine. Now she's feeling she needs to do something about it. Okay. It's the nature of a woman. If she comes to know somebody has talked about her, okay, she needs to deal with it. So she decides, okay, I'm going to deal with it. I'll invite all the women. So she tells her friend, let me invite all the women. So she makes a big banquet, makes good preparation, big party. And she's in palace. She's Aziz's wife. So everything is available to do a bigger party than everybody else. And all the women come. And then she spreads the banquet for all the women to eat from it. So they all finished eating. They're all happy, nicely. Okay. So after that, they have their tea, coffee, all done. Then comes the time for them to have some nice fresh fruits, and the fruit is displayed. And what she does is, she purposely prepares fruit plates for every woman fruits of that kind which need to be cut with a knife. And she gives them a plate with knife and presents those fruits for them. And they all take those fruits and they take the knife. And now they're about to cut when she gives a signal to Yusuf and says, come with the tray. And then when he comes with the tray and they all look up at Yusuf, they forget where the fruit is and they all cut their hands. And why is that? Because Rasulullah ﷺ said, I met Yusuf, my brother, when I went to Miraj. And what I realized, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given only half the beauty to this world from the beginning to the end. From the time Adam alayhi salam till the time the world ends, all the beautiful people you see in the world, you may be finding people who are beautiful to your eyes. There are people we see and say, oh, they're so beautiful. Oh, this is so beautiful. This one is so beautiful. That one is so beautiful. So we find people who are very beautiful. Okay? Eye-catching beauty. All that beauty is just 50%, right from Adam until the end of time. Okay? And the 50% of that beauty is just given to Yusuf alayhi salam. Can you imagine how beautiful he was? All the women who were present there, cutting the fruit, when they looked at him, they just cut their hands. And when they cut their hands, they screamed. And she said, Zulekha said, now you know, he is the man about whom you people are gossiping, that I seduced him. Now, did you see? What happened to your hands? Look, it's bleeding. Why did you cut? If you could not concentrate on your fruit for one sight, one glance of Yusuf, can you imagine my condition? I'm living with him here every day. I'm watching him around me. Can you imagine what's cutting in me? How difficult it is for me. You people didn't realize. You just gossiped about me. You didn't understand my condition and my situation. Now look at Yusuf and then think about my condition. How would I have felt living around him all the time? And that's why I had to seduce him. And now if he does not, surrender to me, then I'll have to put him in the prison. Because it is difficult for her to control herself. If he's around, it's difficult. See, she proved her point by putting the fruits to the women and they cut their hands by looking at him. They're, wow, what a beautiful, handsome man he is. Everybody wished him. He was so tempting for everybody for just one time, one glance. So they had to understand what was Zulekha going through, living in that house day and night, looking at him, being around him. How tempting it was. It was so difficult for her to control herself. So that is the reason he was given a choice by Zulekha at that time. Okay, either you surrender to me or else I'll have to put you behind bars because it's difficult for me. And then he thought for a while and he said, for me, prison is better. It's okay. Because I cannot sin. I feel conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he had come to know by then that he is given some special chosen position by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of the dream he had before he left home. And also because of things that were happening, he felt that he's being guided. Okay, so we go now towards the translation because I've just done the story before I just read it out because it won't make sense otherwise, and I had to connect with the last week's part also. I think we can only do up to 36 today, 35 ayahs today. We'll do up to 42 next time, inshallah, no worries. So, and women in the city said, the wife of the Aziz is seeking to seduce her slave young man. This is the gossip going on, okay? Indeed, she loves him violently. Verily, we see her in plain error. They thought, no, she's wrong. Why she's running after a slave boy? We see her in the plain error, okay? So when she heard of their accusation, okay, she thought, okay, And that also, the women are thinking, as a woman, women of chiefs or princess said, while admonishing and criticizing the wife of the Aziz, the wife of the Aziz is seeking to seduce her slave young man. She's luring her servant to have sex with her. This is how it was sounding. And especially the statement that indeed she loves him violently. It is to say, this is when, she sent for them. She thought, okay, they're talking too much about me. I have to clear my situation or my position. So she prepared a sitting room, and she had couches, pillows to recline on, to be, it was a very lavish banquet, obviously, she prepared. And then she called them, and I told you what she did. And they injured their hands with the knives they were holding, because I'm reading from the Quran and its translation now, but I've already told you the story because I told you from my mind, from my memory. Okay. So the wife of the Aziz asked them, would you like to see Yusuf? And they said yes. So she sent for him to come in front of them. And when they saw him, they started cutting their hands. And this is what happened. So that then she told them and confronted them and said, you people have been gossiping rubbish about me and saying I'm violently in love with him. How do you feel in just few minutes? Can you imagine me living with him all the time? So you did all this from one look at him. So how can I be blamed? So we do not blame you anymore. Then the women said, okay. They are also changing their, because they understood what was going on then. After the sight that we saw, we don't blame you anymore. And they never saw anyone like Yusuf before. As Nabi Sallallahu informed us that he was given half the beauty of this world. And the Prophet Yusuf during the night of Isra, when he met in the third heaven, Rasulullah informed us that he was given half of all the beauty. And this is from Sahih Muslim. Okay, just to tell you the reference of the hadith as well. Anyway, she also said to them, now see, additionally, she's telling them, you have just seen the outer beauty and you've cut your hand with that alone. In one glance, this is your condition. You don't know his inner beauty. You don't know how good he is. See, this is the combination. The thing is, people are not just beautiful because they look beautiful. They become more beautiful, very beautiful, extremely beautiful when their inner is beautiful. That shines separately on your faces. That shines separately on you. When your inner is beautiful, peaceful, there is calmness in you. You can overcome everything. What is Yusuf alayhi salam overcoming? It's because of the calmness and the peace in his heart. No matter what befalls him now, what all has happened already? His own brothers have thrown him. He's away from his father. He's been sold, bought, brought here. What all is happening to him? He is calm. Not one time he has complained about anything, nor spoken anything against anyone. He's just going with the flow. And for that, you need inner beauty. And when somebody has that much inner beauty, it sparkles on your face. They say sometimes the inner beauty is what brings the shine to your face, sparkle in your eyes. You don't need cosmetic, application for that. It just comes from within. So here, she's talking about Yusuf alayhi salam, that you people just saw him from outside and this is your condition. I know how he is from inside. He is beautiful inside as well as outside. It's too much to take. So she told them about his inner beauty that they did not know of, being chaste and beautiful from the inside and outside. And then she threatened him. Now, if he refuses to obey my order, now she's threatening him. Okay. Now, if you refuse to obey my order, then he shall certainly be sent to the prison and will be one of those who are disgraced. So she's giving him threaten. If you don't listen to me, you'll be disgraced, humiliated, put in the prison like somebody, like a criminal. Okay. He said, oh my Lord, Now, you know what you have to understand? He says, "Oh my Lord, prison is dearer to me than that to which they invite me." Okay. Earlier, when she invited him to the bed, he said, Ma'azallah. Now, he didn't say, Audu Billah. He didn't say, Audu Billah. He says, Ma'azallah. There is a difference. If he had said, Audu Billah, then he's seeking refuge from the shaitan. Okay? That's fine. He's asking Allah to give him refuge from this filthy shaitan. But he said, Ma'adallah. That means I am seeking protection. How shall I put it? How to explain in English? Wait. I'm seeking protection from the only one who can protect me from this fitna of shaitan. From the one who's something like that. It's different, okay? Sorry, I'm not able to sometimes translate enough to explain enough, inshallah. But it's different. And now again, he's saying, I prefer this prison to falling into the sin with you. Okay. Okay. And unless you turn away their plot from me, I will feel inclined towards them. So now, what is Yusuf alayhi salam saying? He's saying, Ya Allah, unless you turn away their plot from me, I will feel inclined towards them. I will feel inclined towards them. Unless you help me to remove me from the sight of theirs and from this scenario, you help me. So he's trying to say that I am feeling tempted, and if you don't help me, I will fall into this trap. So I want you to help me and get me away from this situation. Okay, Yusuf alayhi salam was, of course, immune from this error by Allah's will, and he saved him from accepting the advances of the wife of Aziz. He preferred prison rather than accept her illegal call. And this indicates the best and most perfect grade in his case. For Yusuf was youthful, beautiful, and full of manhood. His master's wife was calling him to herself, and she was the wife of the Aziz of Egypt. She was also very beautiful, wealthy, and having a great social rank. He refused all this and preferred prison, for he feared Allah and hoped to earn his reward. And in the two Sahihs, there is a hadith where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah will give shade to even to 7 people on the day of judgment. And one of the 7 of those is the man who refuses a woman just for the fear of Allah. Okay, so he will be given the shade on the day of judgment. And Yusuf is imprisoned. So then it occurred to them, after they had seen the proofs of his innocence, to imprison him for a time. Now they have no choice. They have to imprison him, because they mentioned that if you don't surrender to our seduction, then you'll be imprisoned. He said, okay, give me imprisonment. I'm not going to get seduced by any of you. So then it occurred to them that it would be in their interest to imprison Yusuf. Again, it's in their interest to imprison Yusuf, because if he's around, it's difficult for them to control themselves. He has refused. He's controlled himself. Not that he's not interested. Be very clear about that. He's interested, he's tempted, he's inclined, and he's seeking Allah's help to hold himself. And that's why he said, I prefer prison, because I will get tempted otherwise. I will fall into that. So this is how it all occurred. And it appears that Allah knows best, and they imprisoned him when the news of what happened spread. They wanted to pretend that Yusuf was the one who actually tried to seduce the wife of Aziz, and that they punished him with imprisonment. So it was spread news to everybody else to cover Aziz's wife's mistake by saying actually Yusuf seduced her, or approached her in the wrong manner, and out of because of that he is punished and he is imprisoned for that deed of his. Okay. This is why when the Pharaoh asked Yusuf to leave jail, a long time afterwards, he refused to leave until his innocence was, maintained and ascertained, and the allegation of his betrayal was refuted. When this was successfully achieved, Yusuf left the prison with his honor intact. So when the Pharaoh asked him to leave, he said no. You know what? I have to explain from where this Pharaoh came. Sorry. I think sometimes it's in my mind and I'm not. Okay. What is happening is, I told you who's Aziz. So Aziz is the Minister of Finance. Who does he comes under? The king. Directly under the king. Okay. Ministers, chief ministers, they report straight away to the prime minister, the president. Or if it's a ruler, then to the ruler. Okay. So Aziz is reporting to the king. Aziz is a title for a minister. Same way, and why I'm saying Aziz is not the name of the man. Okay. Aziz is the title. Aziz means somebody of a higher rank or a minister. Because later Yusuf alayhi salam became Aziz. That means he came to that power, so then he became Aziz. So Aziz is like we say minister, PM, CM, how we say it in today's terms. Now, they come under directly, like we say, they come under the highest authority, which is king in this place. The title for the king here was Pharaoh. All Egyptian kings were called Pharaoh. They were pharaohs. So now, this talk went, obviously this story or the case finally was reached the ears of the Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked Yusuf alayhi salam that I heard this happened to you and you're wrongly into the prison. You can come out. I'm relieving you. But he said, I don't want to be released like a criminal. I don't want people to meet me tomorrow and look at me and say, I deceived the master who fed me, who clothed me, who looked after me, who gave me respect. I went and deceived him behind his back and went to his wife. I didn't do that. Or I'm somebody who approached a woman, wrongly. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. So I want to clear my name, prove my innocence. Once you prove my innocence, only then I'll come back. Otherwise, let me be in the prison. Subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah. There are many fiqhi lessons from this surah. I am arranging points. After we finish Surah Yusuf, there will be one class only telling you about what we learned from Surah Yusuf. Right now, I'm just telling you the story. You just pick up what I'm trying to say, but later I'm going to pen it down, all the important lessons, and especially the fiqhi lessons we learn from Surah Yusuf. There are plenty. So he didn't want now to come out without proving his innocence. Okay? So this is where we will stop, I think, because the next part is about, what happens in the prison, who are the prison mates, because then again, that's another story will start there, and that goes into a different, then that will be a prison life. So let's close here, inshallah, and let me see if there's anything which I have left by any chance, and let me put a marker here so that I don't forget where I did it last. Okay, here. There goes the marker, so that I don't ask you people what I'm doing. Okay, let me just check if there's any hadith that I've left behind by chance. Okay. Yeah. And also he preferred prison because he was finding it very hard for his own temptations as well. Okay. This is also there, and I'll see if there's anything else. Hmm. Um, I've told you about the one half of the beauty. Is there anything else that is left? 1 second. So that I'm sure that I've done today's. Yeah, according to the Quran, Yusuf alayhi salam was imprisoned not because his master believed him to be guilty, but because in his weakness, he wanted to appease his wife, being entirely submissive to her and behaving like a riding camel whose reins she held in her hand. Okay, and for that, Yusuf Ali in his translations also explains that to the Aziz, it appears as if it might be in his wife's best interest that he should disappear from her view in prison. The decisive factor was the view of the men generally, who were alarmed at the consternation he had caused among the women. They knew that Yusuf alayhi salam was righteous. They had seen the songs of Allah in his wonderful personality and his calm and confident fortitude. But it was argued it was better than that one man, even if it's righteous, should suffer in prison rather than that many should suffer from the extraordinary disturbance he was unwittingly causing in their social life. Not for the first nor for the last time did the righteous suffer plausibly for the guilt of the guilty. And so Yusuf alayhi salam went to the prison for a time. So, subhanallah, this is so sad that the righteous people sometimes have to suffer just because of this reason. Subhanallah, that, what can I say? That sometimes, people suffer uh, because um, because they are righteous, they have to take the suffering, like in Yusuf alayhi salam's case. And that's why some people, taking his example, may try to stick, to even a hard life, like a life in the prison. How was it for Yusuf alayhi salam? Some people would live a life like that unless and until their innocence is proved. And then only they will accept any negotiations. It should be like that. Anyway, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept whatever was spoken today from his kalam, and whatever was beneficial and right is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us khair of dunya and akhirah, accept your coming and my speaking and everyone who will listen to it even afterwards. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept their good deed, inshallah, and give them khair of dunya and akhirah. Keep them away from every shar of dunya and akhirah. And if there was a mistake, must be my weakness. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me. Or it's a fitna of shaitan. May Allah give us refuge from the fitna of shaitan, from the shar of shaitan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always have mercy on all of us. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبارك وسلم عليه. Jazakumullahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.